You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Super excited about having you guys join in with us. And by the way, the podcast has just been blown up. Thank you to all of you guys leaving 5-star reviews and ratings and downloading the podcast and supporting it. We really appreciate that. Hey, we have an exciting podcast for you here. We have a special guest on the line, none other than Mr. Seth Jones, the editor-in-chief of Landscape Management Magazine. Seth, good afternoon, brother. How we doing?
I'm doing good, Brian. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm excited.
Dude, for sure. Well, you and I were able to catch up for about 10 minutes here before we hit the shiny red record button on the podcast, and just getting to know each other a little bit. We've seen each other in passing with GIE and trade shows and all the rest of the LM team, which is really cool. But you know what? A lot of people don't maybe know what Landscape Management Magazine is. Maybe they don't subscribe to it. And there is a lot of movement behind the scenes with magazines and catalogs and what they call like print marketing. And you know, I'm probably the social media guy, right? Like YouTube and Instagram. But you know what? I love catalogs. I love magazines. I get a lot of that stuff delivered to me, and I love the content in it. And so anyway, as I was putting this whole podcast together, I'm like, well, who's who in the best case scenarios? Like, who could I try to take a stab out there, you know, and see if I can get him on the show? And my friend Mike Bedell even doubled down. He said, dude, you got to get Landscape Management Magazine on. I said, I know. And so any which way, through a conversation of emails, you made some time available. So I really respect your time and really appreciate you. So before I turn into an excited schoolgirl here and we start talking lawn care and landscaping and trends and media, why don't you just maybe for the folks that don't know you or the magazine, maybe just give them a quick snapshot so they know who you guys are and where you're coming from, Seth.
For sure. So our magazine, I'm an old school print journalist. I've been a journalist for 20 years, and I'm very proud to have the position of editor-in-chief of Landscape Management Magazine. I've only sat in that chair for about 15 months now, so I'm still the new guy around, but I do have a turf background. Yeah. Mostly it was in the golf and the sports turf side.
Okay.
So with LM, it's got a proud history. It started out in 1962 under a different title. It kind of evolved from something else, as things tend to do when they started it up. It was the magazine had much more, covered a lot more bases. And then let me see here, 1987, first issue of Landscape Management came out under that title. And we take it very seriously. You know, we've got a team in Cleveland who they're obviously full time. We travel extensively. At least we did up until the current pandemic. But we're out there covering the industry. The magazine, we feel like it's the premier print publication of the landscaping industry.
Wow.
The industry is so diverse in the work that people do. So it's a challenge for us to make sure that you really can't be everything to everyone, but we narrowed it down to certain categories. So if you're out there working and you're in turf and ornamental, if you're mowing, if you're doing design build, irrigation, water management, even snow removal, there's a bunch of we're your magazine. We want people to come and read us. The cool thing about the way journalism has evolved is that everyone has a niche now. And if you are in this niche, then you pick up my magazine, you're going to find something in there that you're going to be like, wow, that's going to change my business. That's going to change my bottom line. I haven't heard of this elsewhere. Call up my buddy and see if he's heard about it. You know, we want to be tastemakers. People come to us with their new ideas, with their new products, with their business philosophies. And we got to sort through a lot of it. We got 65,000 print copies we do a month. If you add in our digital footprint, which includes our LM Direct e-newsletter, which deploys every Thursday, it's got my name on the from line. So if my name is somewhat familiar, it's probably because you might get an email from me every Thursday.
Sure.
Hopefully people find that valuable. It comes from my name, but I've got 3 editors who work with me on it. We assemble the news, we put it all together, we shoot that out. We do videos. We're also on social media. So we just really want to be. It's fun for us because by trade we're journalists, but we landed in this cool niche of the landscape industry.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of other niches you could land in, and we found a pretty cool one. So my team and I in Cleveland, we feel very, very fortunate to have this brand that we get to represent. And trust me, when we travel, we wear that logo with pride. We want to be seen. We want people to come up and say hi to us. And I even want people to say, "Hey, you should put me on the cover of your magazine," because I'll say, "You know what? Tell me why. I'm interested. I want to hear your story."
No,
and
for sure.
Does that work? Not very often, but I still want to hear the story.
No,
so.
and I'll echo and double down with everything you just said. Like, you guys are highly respected. A lot of folks read the magazine. Obviously, my friend Mike Bedell gets it. I get a copy. And you know what? I am an old school catalog and magazine kind of guy. When magazines come in, I like reading them and flipping through them. I got one from A.M. Leonard. They make like tools and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, like the new A.M. Leonard catalog is in there. I mean, I'm sure 80% of it's been in there before, but it's the extra 10 or 20% that I'm always trying to like rifle through and flip through and check it out, And again, social media is cool. I'm a big social media guy, but I totally respect the more traditional marketing that you guys are putting together. I absolutely think there's a place for it, which is really, really cool. So we have a lot of things we're going to cover and break down. We were spitballing some ideas before we hit the record button. So if you guys want to learn more about Landscape Management Magazine and everything that Seth and his team are putting together, stay tuned. Let's hear from the show sponsors, and then we'll get right back into it.
Looking to outfit your trailer with the best racks in the industry? Head over to Equipment Defender. Be secure, look professional, be organized, stop thieves and damage in their tracks. Equipment Defender has racks for backpack blowers, trimmers, gas cans, backpack sprayers, and more. Stay organized, stay secure with Equipment Defender. All Equipment Defender racks work in either open or enclosed trailers. Get secure and organized today at equipmentdefender.com. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Equipment Defender.
All right, cool deal. Well, hey, appreciate you guys so much that have been picking up the Equipment Defender racks, the racks for your trailers, enclosed or utility. You guys know the Brian's 10 code saves you 10% on those. We'll leave the link in the show notes down below. Hey, if you guys got to upgrade your racks any which way, and you guys want to support the podcast, support the YouTube channel, support everything that we're doing, and save some money along the way, hey, use promo code Brian's 10 for Equipment Defender. Always appreciate those guys sponsoring the show. So, Seth, let me ask you this. We'll just jump into it, man. I don't want to ramble here or take too much of your time. So you've been doing these as a journalist for 20 plus years. You've been part of landscape management for a while now as well. Give us like maybe the macro, like let us know, so you hear some people and they're like, man, print is dead, or magazines are dead, catalogs are dead. And actually a friend's parents own a newspaper, what do you call it, like a printing press, like a big ass company, right? Like they make newspapers. And you would think that like in 2020, right, newspapers are gone and magazines are gone. But in fact, their business has like doubled and tripled and quadrupled. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. And so a friend was telling me the story is like, no, like because there's so much internet, everybody's click, print, click, print, click, print. They're printing off so much stuff from the internet. And business is booming for their paper business. They wholesale paper, I guess, and then they print newspapers for companies or all these different magazines or whatever. And I'm like, really? Like it was fascinating to me. So you have a bigger perspective and context than I do because you do this professionally. But where's your attitude and with magazines and catalogs and doing the whole deal? Is this still a viable medium? And talk a little bit more about the 65,000 people you guys distribute magazines to. Every time you do an issue.
Yeah, well, so as you can imagine, there's probably two schools of thought on it, and it depends on who your listener is. Some people see that magazine, and if they don't find value in it, it's going to end up not leaving the desk, or even worse, hit the recycle bin. Mm-hmm. And then there's a lot of other people who, as soon as they see the magazine, they're going to flip through it. They're going to see if there's some stories that they want to check out, or if there's some faces they recognize. And so our challenge is to make sure, we don't really even. There's studies that have been done on how print journalism is doing, but so that's all happening in the background, while in the meantime what we're doing is just trying to make sure that we make a magazine that is as compelling as possible. And what I tell people is like, it all starts with the front cover. If we don't have a front cover that's going to engage you as a reader, if we have a boring front cover with boring headlines and just a muted attitude, then we're done. And we try to avoid that at all costs. Now, I'll also tell you, I've got on my desk over here, there's the Association of Magazine Media. Mm-hmm. They've sent out their fact book, and they're doing studies. And one of the stories which you were describing kind of made me think of is the case study of a state university where they decided to go paperless with their textbooks. And all of a sudden the local copy place just starts going crazy because all these college kids had downloaded, they had like a thumb drive with a textbook on it, and it comes time to cram, and they had to get their cup of coffee and they had to print that thing out. And so all of a sudden it had the reverse effect of saving paper. They started burning through more paper because it's not as efficient to do it that way. And so there's studies that say people retain more when they read it in print. And I think that even to get less scientific, if you look at a copy of Landscape Management magazine, we invest in the product itself. We have a heavy, thick stock in our cover. Our paper quality is good. It's something that you can tell that someone invested some money into it.
Sure.
It's not a bad looking. It's not a cheap looking publication. And so by doing that, we're big believers in print. We'll always be big believers in print. Just because think of this. Think about how many e-newsletters you get. Think about and you're talking about, you're a social media guy. I get that. I get what the social media, and we love it. But think about the print editions that you used to get that are now digital only, and how often do you really feel like clicking on them and reading through them? And people get screen fatigue. They look at the computer. A lot of people they don't want to look at their phone on something. They want to actually hold something in a magazine. Hell, they want to take it to the men's room. I have never offended to see a copy of my magazine in a men's room. Trust me, that warms my heart because I just want people to read the magazine.
Well, that's the thing too. When you get something physical in your hands, like it's almost like you take a break. In the opposite now of like 2020 is like a magazine's actually a break. Like from the phone. You know what I mean? And it used to be, it was a break from work. Well, now there's a thing called open rates and click-through rates and open rates. Even the best newsletters get 30, 40, 50% open rates. I mean, the best get 60, 70, but that's like even unheard of. Usually it's 20, 30. If you're a major corporation, you'd be lucky to get a 3% open rate. And so not necessarily the case with a magazine. You put a magazine in somebody's hand. I don't know the exact numbers, but I would bet you 60, 70, 80% of people are opening that thing up and filtering through it. Would you agree to that still?
I would, and the challenge that we have on that is because there's so many big corporations who are because keep in mind, my magazine's free. We're mailing it out all over the place. It's free. We're entirely funded by our advertisers, and so if you got the big mega giant company that's advertising, they want to know what's their return on investment. Give me the exact. How many eyeballs did my print ad get? Well, guess what? We can only guess. But with the click through rates and going through an email. And people can say, oh, hey, you got 4% click-through. Well, that ad didn't do any good.
Right.
Well, maybe it did do good for you in that medium, but my magazine, if you put a really cool advertisement across our cover story, and if we have a good cover story, I would love to know what that number is because I think it's got to be way higher when people, with our engaged readers, if it's a copy of, if the magazine is going to someone who is aloof about their business, maybe burned out, then sure, I don't know that I'm going to get through to that guy. But to the guy who's constantly trying to strive to be better and make, improve their business and is actively pursuing education like this, I would think that the people will recognize that's their best shot.
Well, and what I'll say is that I think your audience is an opt-in audience, right? So I mean,
it is.
That's got to speak wonders. This isn't like impressions on Facebook, like where hey, we showed this ad to 200,000 people. Okay, when like the click-through rate or the whatever rate's like 1%. No, it's like, well, these are an opt-in people. So like most people that get this magazine, they want to read it, Hey, and one thing I got to ad lib is that you're talking about the cover of the magazine. Welcome to the life of being a YouTuber. That's called thumbnail, right? Thumbnail. Every day, like, I'm like, oh my God, I need to make a thumbnail for this video. Like, it's amazing content. But if nobody clicks the dang video, which means good titles and good thumbnail. So it's called, yellow page journalism, right? It's just what it's become. It's become this like shock and awe or scare fest or sensationalism. Quite frankly, I hate all of it because the best content is in videos that have I don't want to say the worst titles, but like, I'm not here to try to sell clicks. Like I'm trying to give content, and I don't know. I don't know how you've made your piece about that, but for me, it's so frustrating. I'm like, unless the best videos like mowing tall grass or brand new mower, like 50,000 views, and then I'm like, how to succeed with a business with Yardbook, like our software, and it gets 2,000 views, and the mowing tall grass 100,000 views, and I'm like, I get entertainment, I get some escapism, I get it, but isn't the idea to like grow a more successful life. And sometimes that content performs the worst. So I'm always stuck between this rock and the hard place between what kind of content to make, Seth.
It is. It's tough, and you don't want to. And that's the thing is, you don't want to trick your audience. You don't want to trick your reader. You don't want to get too cute.
Yep.
Hopefully, I think for someone like you, Brian, the thing that you've got is that they've invested in you at that point.
Sure.
And it's the same thing with us on LM. Is that they recognize our logo, they recognize our name. It's the same color palette, and so hopefully they have that trust in us.
That brand.
We've got to have a good-looking cover, and we've got to have a good headline because that's key. But at the same time, even if it's something like it's a cover story that isn't right in their wheelhouse, hopefully they still trust us enough to know, like, you know what, those guys, they were out and about. There's something else in here for me. I want to push through it.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, guys, a little quick tip here is there's a difference in paperweight. I know this sounds really weird, but while we're here, Seth, I mean, you've studied this stuff until you're probably blue in the face with college and being in the industry for 20 years, right? But there's a different paperweight, like 80-pound paper, and when I make flyers, we try to upgrade from whatever, like a 40-pound to like a 60 or an 80-pound paper, and it's like, well, what are you talking about? Well, like the thickness of that paper, your brain automatically correlates quality with a thicker paper or a high gloss paper, right? Like you guys have with the magazine. And like there's sometimes you get those like mailers and like, ads, from like a Harbor Freight, right? And not throwing them under the bus. I haven't really looked at their catalog in a while, but it's more like, hey, you look at the sales, you look at the deals, and then let's just be honest, that magazine's used as a poop catcher about 2 days later. And then when I get a landscape management magazine in, I'm like, high glossy pages, really thick paper, beautiful cover, tons of good quality like photos and images and the whole deal. Like that's a superior piece of content. And so I treat credibility with that, or I correlate credibility with that, and it makes me want to read it that much more. So just a classy publication, you can weigh in on that if you want. Just a random thought there.
Yeah. Well, just what I would say about that is like if you walked by our booth at GIE Expo and you saw we had the January, well, no, what issue? That would have been we probably had the October-ish there.
Fall.
And it was a big book that we brought set with a nice cover, and it stands out. People would stop. It would make people stop in their tracks, and they'd be like, "Can I grab one of these?" It's like, "Yeah, you can grab one." You got a buddy want one too? You grab it. And just literally last Wednesday, I was in a meeting, and we brought a couple copies of our publications, and we threw them down on the table. And you really hope that they'll pick up your magazine at that point, because at some point someone's going to do it inevitably. You're going to get a guy that looks at you in the eyes, and he's going to look at the cover, and he's going to say, "Wow, thank you for you guys invested." I mean, it's like, it sounds weird, but I appreciate what this is something that makes me feel important about my industry. That you guys actually put some money into this.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is we'll invest in photography as well. I've never been turned away from anyone upstairs about spending money on a cover photo,
right?
On a photographer, it's important, because at the end of the day, it's our reputation on the line, and the people will notice if you start cutting the corner.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too. I think you guys do a great job at just the content you create, too. A friend of mine, Nick Carlson, a lot of guys know Nick Carlson. He's a friend of the show and friend of mine in the industry, and he created Mulchmate, right? A lot of people know Nick, and Mulchmate, Truckmate, the whole deal, Cartmate, which is really awesome. And I remember, I don't know, Seth, you probably remember, but this was about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe before the show, and whatever it was, he had a half page or like a whole page, but it was only, you open up a magazine, it was one side, but a full page like spread or article, whatever, done with him on the Mulchmate. And I remember him telling this story. He actually shared it on our podcast. He had been crushing it, but sales kind of dried up, and there was this like 4 or 5 months I don't know what you call it, like incubator stage, where like people are deciding if they want to buy Mulchmates for the following spring, right? So we're, these bigger companies are thinking 8 months ahead, right? And he was like, yeah, like I'm sitting on like $250,000 worth of inventory that we wouldn't mind selling off. And literally he opened up I don't even know, maybe the fall edition, whatever it was. And boom, he's like right in there. And it was really, really neat, because he had told me like chum in the water, like, the minute that magazine went out, it wasn't but 48 hours later, his phone started just ringing off the hook, and he sold like $250,000 worth of machines, or some crazy number. He tells the story way better than I do. But he was like, if we didn't have that ad that was in that magazine, he goes, you might not know Mulchmate of what it is today because of you guys and just the advertising. And here's what I'm always trying to do, Seth. Imagine this: there's people with products and there's end users. Like, I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I'm just trying to link and make those connections, right? And there's guys at the Brylars, the Brightviews, and the big companies of the national companies, smaller companies doing 2 to 5 million. But if they don't know something exists from the industry, how can they buy it to make more money and grow their company? Well, duh, that's where you guys come into play. Can you speak on that, like your experience and your perspective? Because I see it from one end. I'd love to hear your thoughts about how you guys are bridging the connections and making those connections out there for us.
Yeah, and so your story about and Nick Carlson, I got to hang out with him a little bit at GIE this year, and he is a great storyteller.
Totally,
and he's got a great story.
Oh yeah,
they really do. That's a family-owned company, and I know how. One of these days, I had to revisit that story in the magazine because it is a dramatic story that he has to tell, and it's cool to have a guy like that who knows what he's doing and has obviously got the mind for it, and has got a really cool product. And the only thing he was lacking was just that voice to get it out to the industry.
Sure.
And then we connected with him, and then it was life changing for him. And so he comes and we're at GIE Expo, and he comes to my booth, and he's telling me this story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the kind of stuff you need. Trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years. I work out of my home, and when I go to trade show events, they're overwhelming. You got to run here, run there, and you just dead tired by the end of it, right?
Oh yeah.
But then to have Nick come up and tell me a story like about what it meant for his business, oh man, you can imagine how pumped up I was after that. Because it's making a difference in his life, and it's making a difference in his clients' lives, and it's also helping us because people are going to come to us and they'll be like, hey, I actually learned about Mulchmate in landscape management. It was the first place I ever saw it.
Right.
And then I don't know if you saw like the KR Chariot at the
Yep.
I kind of like to raise my hand and say, in terms of print media, and in terms of magazines, we were the first ones to profile that product, and that got a buzz going too. And it's just kind of cool to see that because, like, again, there's a bunch of different magazines on a bunch of different topics. We got a pretty cool industry we cover, and those are cool products that you can say, hey, I can see this out on a back of a guy's trailer tomorrow if we get the word out there and we can see what happens. So it's cool to see these advancements, and that's probably one of the best things about the job is to see all the new stuff that the people trying to create a better mousetrap every day.
Right.
And then we get to look at it. Sometimes we get to test drive it, and we don't know for sure what's going to hit and what's going to flop, but it's cool to kick the tires on these things and to just pose the question and throw it out there and see what the chum in the water. Hey, what do you guys think of this? Are the fish going to bite, or are they going to swim away?
Well,
it's neat to see how that all works.
You're kind of like the what's the old one? Shoot them all, let God sort them out. You're kind of like the let's print it all and let all the consumers sort it out, or something like that. I don't know.
The thing I'll tell people, it's like, hey, nothing in this magazine is like got to verify. Hey, Seth Jones signed off on this.
Right.
You don't want that, trust me, because I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I'm a journalist by trade, but what I do know is if someone seems to be heartfelt and truly interested in what they're pitching us, and if it passes the eye test, then we're probably going to give it a look so people can see it.
Well,
because I don't want to pass on something that is the next big invention, and I had it, and then I let it slip out of my fingers.
Well, sure. Well, and that's the thing I was going to ask you too. What's some of the different trends that you have seen? Because are people looking for equipment? Are people looking at software? Are they looking at coaching and mentorship? I know there's a lot of guys that consult. You know what I mean? I know you guys read up a lot about a little bit of everything. Let's just be honest, right? But what have you noticed over the last 12, 18 months are some of the trends? I can tell you some trends based on doing YouTube. I know what gets clicks. I know what gets views. I know what also doesn't get clicks and what also doesn't get views. But I'd love to hear just from a digital and from a print side of things, or from a print side of things, what's your perspective on what have you guys been doing the most stories on? What do people want to see? What do people want to know?
Well, I'll tell you, we took a different approach when I got the job about 2 years ago. We were doing more leadership and grow your business and philosophical stories. And we do have access. We got Marty Grunders is a columnist for us. He's our Backpage guy, and so we've got a stable of columnists who we feel really represent that for us.
Mm-hmm.
We put that ball is in their court. And then what we did with the rest of the magazine is we took these pages and we said, hey, we're going to try and touch on whether it be chemicals, or it's iron,
mm-hmm.
or whatever it is. We want to just throw it all out there and let people see what these industry experts say is new and innovative about their products.
Sure.
So we're doing a lot on anywhere from robotic mowers to plant growth regulators to software. Our software content does well on the website.
Mm-hmm.
So there is really there seems to be a lot of different buckets that we can hit on. But I think one of the reasons that LM is having a really knock on wood, as I say this, we're having a good year. We're having a good couple of years here.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's not just because of the economy. I feel like it's because we're putting out something where our readers appreciate it and our advertisers are interested in what we're doing as well. And one of the things that we've done that was a fundamental change is we'll put a 2-page spread in the magazine, and I'll say something about it'll be like, hey, skid steers. Let's talk skid steers. All right, expert over here at this company, at this company, at this company, at this company. You all have the floor for 4 minutes. What do you want me to know?
Right.
And we'll take that, we'll digest it down, we'll put it in the magazine, and it makes for fun copy where you can look and say, hey, okay, here's a general story about the skid steer, but then here's these 4 industry experts guys who are working with these every day, and here's what they're telling us. And this guy sounds like he might know something more than this guy, and this guy sounds like he wants to tell me something else over here. So we're doing that just because we feel like let's put these experts in the book and let our readers decide.
Sure.
What's cool.
Do you guys?
So it's been fun.
Do you guys ever take feedback from like the viewer or the fan or the reader? Like, how do you guys keep a pulse on what people want to know? Because let's say everybody wants more software. You got LMN, you got Yardbook, Jobber, all these different people, right? Shout out to all those guys, great companies and great people. But how do you know what to make content on? You know what I mean?
There's a couple ways. We do have a survey that we send out every year via email where we just say, hey, we have some open-ended questions. What stories should we be pursuing?
Oh, okay.
Where we just at that point it's up to the reader to tell us how they feel, and then just in person at events we travel to you name it, from if it's the NALP event or a Grow with Grunder event or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we basically just throw it out there and say, hey, tell us what you want to see more of and see less of.
I love it.
We don't get a whole, let me put it this way. There's a reason there's not a letter to the editor page in the magazine because we don't get a whole lot of people just clamoring for hey, this is LM guys. This is what you need to do more of, less stuff. It isn't something, and that's why it's important for us to go to those shows, because sometimes it does feel like you're working in a vortex.
Kind of get your finger on the pulse.
To the event.
Yeah,
that's the way we get our finger on the pulse. Is to either survey the readers or just be in front of the readers.
Well,
we also have an editorial advisory board that we lean on.
Okay.
Every month, and they're pretty well connected, and we talk to those guys all the time because
it's a nonstop conversation.
What the story is.
Yeah.
They might, even if we just have to give us hey, give me a name of somebody that can call.
Well,
we're real quick to ask for favors.
Well, my friend Mike Bedell, he's been featured in your magazine once or twice, and he was like, "Yeah, I just got off the phone with Landscape Magazine. I just got you guys Landscape Magazine, but Landscape Management Magazine." And I'm like, "Yeah, what do they want?" He goes, I don't know. I was talking about something about this, and this, and I think it was like lighting or something like that. And I go, "Nice." He goes, "Yeah, fun call, fun." It was a quick conversation, and I was like, "Good for you, man." And I know he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Anytime." He knows one of the girls there or something like that, and he said, "Yeah, anytime. I know when I get the phone call, it must be like a hard week, and they're trying to dig something up or something new, and they want Mike's perspective on it." I'm like, I like that, man. That's pretty cool, So it's always, nobody's called me, but that's what do I know, right? So
we'll have to fix that. Be careful what you wish for.
I'm just messing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but and I should mention my team. I've got our senior editor Abby Hart, our editor Christina Herrick, and our associate editor Sarah Webb.
Yeah.
And they're all based in Cleveland, and they hustle, they work the phones.
Sure. Sure.
They because it's their beat. If you think about it, all of us have journalism degrees. All of us really want to cover the industry, and we rely on you guys.
Yeah.
I spoke at I had the stage for just 90 seconds or so at Grow in front of people in Charlotte, and I told those guys, I said, hey, this isn't my magazine, it's your magazine.
Mm.
You know, you guys let us know what you want. And
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I've got a degree hanging on the wall that says journalism, which means I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I'm a good listener is what I am.
I like it. I like it.
We rely on you guys. And it is, I also think, I would say that for your friend who had that phone call, I trust my writers to do a good job on that interview and properly portray whatever he communicated to our editors.
Sure.
And that should be a win-win for both our readers and for the person we interviewed, because that's making him more known in the industry. It's making him more, seen as a tastemaker or something. Yeah, and it's someone who, maybe even maybe that's something he can use with his customers. Like,
sure.
Yeah, we're having. You think I don't know what I'm talking about today, but I don't know if there's this trade journal. They interviewed me as an expert in the industry, so maybe I know what I'm talking about today.
Well, we call it like third party verified. You know what I mean, like third party voice. So Mike can take that same post from your magazine, for example, the digital version, and he could not only write it up as a blog post of his own, sandwiching your post in there, share his own blog post from your magazine. Or share it on Facebook and say, hey, if you guys are ever thinking about landscape lighting, check out this great interview that we did with Landscape Magazine. And boom, and now his customers cannot, listen to Mike, Mr. Salesman, right? They can do research with your article, your blog, and then they can say, man, I really liked about what this article had to share about lighting and how it could increase my home's value and increase safety around my property at night. Well, hey, Mr. Mike, why don't you give me a bid for a lighting solution for $6,000 or whatever, right? And bada boom, bada bing, and that's how I think everybody works together. Is that what you're kind of relating to?
Yeah, it is, and especially if you think about how much everyone is, how every consumer is going to Google everybody today.
Right.
Very rarely is there an impulse purchase anymore.
Sure.
They want to see, hey, before what's this person's review? How many stars they got on?
Sure.
Online and stuff like that. And so to come to us, and then if someone sees that LM has spoken to this person, it's like, well, what did LM know about this guy that made them want to use him as a source? And apparently it worked out because they published it and whatnot. And so, yeah, it's like, and then all of a sudden it's like, maybe I do want that guy who is enough of an authority on the subject,
right,
to be quoted in a national magazine, to come out to my place and let's see what he can do at my place.
Sure. I like it. Well, let's do this. I'm going to grab a sip of water here. I got a lot more to ask you and to unpackage. We're going to talk about just photography, how you guys get your photos. Is there user submitted and fan submitted? I'm always curious how you guys continue to curate so much. Trust me, I create content and I call it a meat grinder, right? It's like this nonstop conveyor belt. And once you flip it on, not only is it like feeding fresh meat to the grinder, but you have to keep getting more meat on that conveyor belt, right? And that's the secret behind creating content, is just you're always spinning this plate, always got this forever conveyor belt. But then, honestly, I want to know how people can find you. A little bit more about your guys' team. These are just some ideas that I had jotted down that I wanted to ask you. So you still got a couple more minutes where we can pick your brain, Seth?
Absolutely. Would love to.
All right, let's do this. Let's hear from the show sponsors again. I'm going to take a sip of water and we'll get right back into it.
Looking to outfit your trailer with the best racks in the industry? Head over to Equipment Defender. Be secure, look professional, be organized, stop thieves and damage in their tracks. Equipment Defender has racks for backpack blowers, trimmers, gas cans, backpack sprayers, and more. Stay organized, stay secure with Equipment Defender. All Equipment Defender racks work in either open or enclosed trailers. Get secure and organized today at equipmentdefender.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Equipment Defender.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you guys for supporting one of the show sponsors, which is Equipment Defender, who supports us. So if you guys are in the market for trailer racks, look, if you guys want to buy great quality racks and you need them for your trimmers and your blowers anyway, get that stuff off your floor. Get it off the bed of your truck. Secure it, man. Don't let people steal and jack your stuff. We live in very interesting times where people somehow, as they drive down the road, feel entitled to your $600 backpack blower, just having fun. So if you guys are looking for blower racks, trimmer racks, the whole deal, equipmentdefender.com, Brian's 10 saves you guys 10%, and we do earn a small kickback and a commission on that as an affiliate partner, which goes right back into funding great content like this for the podcast and on the YouTube channel. So thank you to those guys for sponsoring the show. Hey Seth, while I was running the ad and thinking about this out loud, you know what we need to do? We need to get you guys at my live event this fall, Launchpreneur Academy Live. What do you think?
I'd love to. You got to give me some details. Give me the details.
Well, November 7th, we haven't totally announced that tickets are on sale yet. That'll go live in May or June. Right now, we're shooting this episode during the pandemic of the coronavirus. So we'll pray to God that we all make it through and we're all alive in 3 months and just having fun. And we can even have social gatherings of more than 5 or 10 people with all these limitations on us. So we'll see where that goes. Different world we're living in right now, and that's just the facts. But anyway, live event. If all things are moving forward and all engines are moving forward, it'll be a Saturday in November. We get about 200 people together, Seth. It's actually a barn burner. Last year, we did our first ever live event. We just literally threw it out there, and the reception was incredible. We had about 150 different lawn care landscaping business owners there. A lot of guys are new in the business or their first 4 or 5 years in business, which is cool. This year, we're expecting at least 250, maybe 300 people. We sold 150 tickets in 10 weeks last year, and I think we'll sell 150 tickets in 10 days this year. So we'll see. But how cool it would be to have a landscape management magazine booth there. You guys can do interviews or podcasts or, all these different things live and in person, and maybe even cover the show. I don't know. I think it'd be real cool to have you guys there.
I would love to. I think it'd be great. Yeah. Keep us in line on that, because hopefully by then we can start traveling again, and we'll be there.
Yeah. Crazy world we're living in today, man. But okay. Well, hey, let me ask you this. So with relating to, the Launchpreneur Academy and all these other different things that you guys go to, so sometimes you guys are looking for user submitted content. This was one of the bullet points that I had asked you. I said, hey, what's some talking points that you wanted to get across during the show? Is there opportunities for people to contribute? Is it always top down, or is it sometimes, you guys learn grassroots and people email you or contact you? And then especially for photography and video and whatever else, is there a way for people to submit and contribute to the magazine, or how does that work? I know it's a weird question, but I'm just curious.
No, it's got an easy answer, actually. It's easy to get featured in our magazine, depending on what you want to do. But for example, I received an email a month or so ago from someone who, just like someone working in the office at a company, and she said, Seth, we get your magazine here all the time, and the guys love it. She goes, it's a family-owned company. These guys work so hard. I don't know what you guys are writing about or what you're doing, or what you're looking for, but you need to feature these guys in your magazine somehow.
Sure.
And I replied and I said, thank you for reaching out to us. I'm so happy you guys get the magazine.
Right.
We'll probably be in touch soon. Yeah. And I forwarded that email to the team, and I said, hey, anybody need a contact on, in this neck of the woods, because we got somebody who's willing to help us. Well, pretty soon, phone rings. Hey, you emailed us. We're talking about this topic today. How can you guys help us?
Yeah.
Of course. Some photos, sure. And then it's just organic like that. It's just raising your hand, because
that's awesome.
We got a lot of, in each issue there's a lot of interviews, there's a lot of topics covered, and we don't want to talk to the same person every issue, as you can imagine. We want to get a variety of sources. We want to get different people featured in the magazine, and so we really just got to know about people, and then because otherwise, Brian, we'll cold call people, but they probably think I'm selling something.
Yeah.
So that makes it difficult. But when things get urgent, we'll just cold call on a topic and see what we can get. But rather than having to do that, I'm always happy to have a list on the side here that I know of people who have raised their hand, who say, just to acknowledge our business in the magazine. We'd be thrilled to see it. Absolutely, we'd be thrilled to do it.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then beyond that, if you want to send us an email with a story pitch, with a photo, like, hey, I got a great one. I ran it in the magazine. It's like, hey, we got this new tree remover that I think you should check out. It's pretty cool, and here's a photo of us backing it in. And I'm like, you know what?
Interesting.
I'm gonna put that in the magazine. It's a good looking photo.
Heck yeah.
If you got a cool photo, if you got something that, it doesn't even have to be a fully formed story idea. It could just be like, hey, Seth, we were out on a job site the other day, and this is a cool moment, and I just want to share it with you.
Sure.
We were celebrating. We were celebrating somebody's 30th year with the company. Oh, please. I eat that up. I love that stuff. Now, it shows the human side of the industry.
Well, you're talking about creating copy, I'm sure you guys do all that stuff, like all the writing and the paragraphs. If somebody isn't good at that, right? Like you guys can, facilitate that is what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's our job. All we need is to know that you're available. And boom, we can make it. We'll make it sing.
I love it.
We get in touch and we can get it all put together, no problem.
Well, what do they say? The squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So it's like, well, I got
right.
all this good stuff going on, man. Well, tell somebody, if you want to, elevate the landscape industry and contribute to your peer and hang out. I mean, that's why I do social media and YouTube. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm just like, hey man, I'm out here doopy-doo doing my thing. And we've learned a few things and we've succeeded at a few things. Lord knows I've messed up on a bunch of things, but anytime I've got, unfortunately, it's always a highlight reel. That's how the world is. But I'm like, hey, why don't you check out this, and this? But you guys wouldn't know if I didn't make YouTube videos. Well, we want to know what you guys are doing. We want to know what weird invention, contraption you guys made in your garage that is changing the world, and get it in front of eyeballs if you want to make sales. Like, you got to get in touch with the Seths and the Bryans and the Stanley Dirt Monkeys, because Stanley and Brian can get it out on social. Seth is your guy for magazines and give more credibility to it as well. Seth, one question I got to ask you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that when we're trying to build products and create all these designs, one thing I tell people is that, hey, you might be a genius in the shed, making something, but unless people know about it, you are not going to make sales, right? Like, I know so many people that spend forever trying to make something, then they make it better and then make it perfect. And in that process, somebody else gets a patent on it, somebody else comes to market with it, somebody else did it better, somebody else released it quicker. And, there is some velocity to the business game, where if you're first or you get a patent, like, hey, you're probably going to have a better chance of succeeding. Do you have any other personal stories or lawn care landscaping industry, or even outside of that? Because I know you have a big, a breadth of broad brush that you can pull from. Have you noticed that to be true? Like, sometimes that exposure, even if something is, not perfect yet, is still better than not exposing to it and letting somebody else beat you to the punch?
Yeah, well, the way I can relate to that is we host an event called the LM Growth Summit. We do it down at Reunion Resort in Orlando every year.
Oh, cool.
So we bring companies down to just show off their stuff and to tell their own stories, and so we bring, it's primarily a turf and ornamental group who's meeting down there. And so we just give the floor to, let's say we have 10 partners for the event.
Okay.
And you can really see the difference between, it really comes down to, you could have this great product and you could have spent your life perfecting it, but until you can really tell the story, it just doesn't do it. You got to be able to tell the story.
Sure.
And we've got people who we work with who are so passionate about the product, and they've done everything they can, but they kind of need that push to help convey what it is and why it's important and how it can affect you. Because if you're going to turn someone cold right off the bat, if you don't have that marketing ability, that's just going to die right there on the vine. And so I see companies at our LM Growth Summit who they know which person to send, and it might not be the CEO, it might not be the inventor, it might be your sales guy, it might be your marketing person, but it's going to be the guy who can properly explain how this is going to affect your bottom line.
Sure.
And if you don't have that in the business, it's just going to be a wasted effort on what could be a really good connection made. We've seen it happen to where maybe the wrong person came to represent a product, and it just doesn't really click for people. They're like, I'm on to the next meeting. And we've seen it to where the same guy comes back every year because he's so good at people realize, wow, this is a family-owned company. They've been doing it for 100 years, and they know my problems.
Right.
And
right.
that's the difference. They understand what it's like to have my job.
Interesting.
So I think a lot of that goes into what makes the company successful versus a company just fledgling along with an otherwise good product.
Well, I just think it's always good to, it sounds so rudimentary, but networking, and I think you guys have a role. I think the end user has a role. We're all in this together, as I always say on my cliche, you know what I mean? So let me ask you this. How does content get created from you guys? Like, if some people submit content, sometimes you guys go out and interview people, but how do you guys build a magazine? I mean, are you guys like 6 months ahead of schedule, a quarter ahead of schedule, like 3 weeks ahead of schedule? Like, I would imagine, my thought is right now you're probably making content for fall. I mean, we're going in the spring at the time of this recording. Are you guys like making the fall catalog or magazine? I always use the word catalog, but you know what I'm saying. Cause that's what everything I shop from is like A.M. Leonard and Xmark and all these guys got their catalog, right? So anyway, but how do you guys make the content? How do you put together this magazine? Like, for anybody who's not in print, can you give this like 5-minute like idea of how this all comes together?
Yeah, and I'll be honest. So we're in spring, and let's just say I think I have 12 business days to pull off my April issue.
Wow.
So we fly a lot closer to the sun than what you'd think. And the reason we do, there's a couple reasons we do that. One, the best reason is because we want the content to be really current.
Mm-hmm.
We want, in front of every issue, we have a news section. And I want people to, because we are competing with online, we're competing with our own online news and whatnot. I want people to see the magazine the day they open it. If I have a story that's current, they'll see that tells them that my magazine is also current. It's not something that was written, in the previous presidential administration that's been sitting around for a long time.
Right.
So we do turn it around pretty quick. The other thing I'll add to that is because North Coast Media owns 6 publications. Let's just say we have a very good relationship with our printer,
mm-hmm.
and they are happy to work with us on our deadlines and to help us turn these things around quickly.
Good, yeah.
The magazine itself, if you look on our website, we do have the recipe. I can tell you what the November and December cover stories are going to be based on topic, not necessarily because the story's written yet, but we do that because we create a 12-month schedule for the magazine, where we want our advertising partners to know if I'm in the snow removal business, there's going to be content in this issue on snow removal. That's probably an issue I should be advertising in.
Sure.
And similarly, we want to be forward with people that, hey, if you have a press release, if you have a story on something that you think is be very important to our readers who are interested in the next big thing in mowing, then this is probably, get it to us by then so we can get it in that issue.
Okay.
So the recipe is online. There's a downloadable form that people can get that shows you exactly what's going to be. And I, as editor-in-chief, I have that hanging in my office, and I look at it and I cross off the bucket as we do it. Is it the most creative process to do it like that? No, but it is. It allows everyone to know what we are coming to the market with each issue, so there's no surprises.
Nice. Okay, interesting. I was just curious. With me creating social media and YouTube and Instagram, it's like, what are we posting about today? So that's just the velocity of what we come at, because it's like, hey, at most we got maybe a week out worth of content scheduled, but again, that's with just me. We don't have a team or anything like that, so we're always like creating all this content, and we get it to a pretty polished state. It's not perfect, and then hit send. Right, full send is what the kids say, I think, right? So,
yep.
No, I love it, man. Well, so let me ask you this. One thing to maybe double back on or circle back on was I wanted to talk to you for just a few more minutes about trends. Like we were talking about this earlier, but what's some stuff that maybe, I don't know if you can allude to anything that we're going to see in the next 6-8 weeks, but what is 2020 looking like for trends? Because so many guys are getting in the business, so many guys are trying to grow the business, and they're just explosive growth right now, in my opinion, in the industry. So is there anything that we could look forward to seeing maybe more of, or any predictions for 2020?
2020 is, and as we talk right now, it's such a weird day. It's with the pandemic going on.
Right.
One of the things that we did is my team. We are just working the phone and we're calling around the country to ask business owners how they think this is going to affect their business and how are they talking to their employees about Are there safety concerns for people, operating the same equipment, things like that?
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the process right now. I mean, that's really dominating. That dominated my day today. You can imagine I was on conference calls all day today.
I can imagine.
But,
Yep.
Yeah. So hopefully 2020. Let's say that things get better on the pandemic. We get back to normal. I think if I guess a better way to phrase it is to say if we weren't dealing with the pandemic today, the things that we would be looking into are things like I'd say like battery powered equipment. It's something that we're very interested in because we see that as something that's just going to get bigger and bigger. We are interested in robotics and to see where that goes. I think I do just in a general geek sense. I think robotics are interesting, and to see what's going to happen with them, what's coming down the pike, especially with the labor situation we're in. So and I've said it before. We could put the labor struggle on the cover of every issue. That's how big a deal it is.
Yeah.
But that would be a really depressing magazine, and it's just a universal problem.
Right.
But we'll always be listening to that. And I just think that the manufacturers, I'm a big believer in plant growth regulators. I think I think that's something that people. I think that's going to get more and more traction in terms of how it can limit some work that needs to be done for the crew. I think it's just something that people I can see experimenting with more, and to seeing what they can get out of their PGRs. Beyond that, and we just like to see what every year we go to the shows, GIE Expo or what have you, and we're keeping our eyes peeled for what seems to be prevalent. I feel like this last GIE Expo was robotics. I feel like everywhere we went was and maybe it's still snake oil for people, but I felt like that was something where there's a lot of investment.
All the robotics, you're talking about like the auto mowers and the IMO and the all the robot mowers and things that have a perimeter set, and they kind of clean up the yard for us, and then maybe the owners just got to trim, right? Like those kind of programs, and then like particularly mowers, and then battery is huge right now. I mean, I can't talk to a company right now. I'm like, hey, let's do some content about like some other zero turn or push mower or walk behind. Like, yeah, no, that's cool, but hey, this battery equipment here, and I'm like, come on, and I get it. I've actually started to come around the last like 2 years because I do see the merits of like battery chainsaws, battery hand blowers, battery trimmers or hedge trimmers. I'm not as a contractor, I'm not fully convinced on the performance of a battery string trimmer or a battery backpack blower. But again, the technology's got to keep improving, and it's crazy to see the strides that a lot of these companies are making, like Steel and Husqvarna and everybody in between. So and Echo, but I was just kind of curious of your thoughts because again, like I get a pulse based on comments, on the YouTube videos, and then DMs back on Instagram. But you guys are burning up the phone all day and having these conversations. So I'm always curious, what's working for everybody else and what everybody else is trying to do. And again, like if that's not an endorsement enough to pick up the magazine to learn about trends, learn about different perspectives that all these different contractors can offer you across the country. I mean, that's what we're offering. And by the way, like just to double down on this, it's free. Like you have to opt in. So why don't you, as we wrap things up here, why don't you, if you want, take a few minutes, let people know how they can get the magazine, where they can find you, find more info on Landscape Management Magazine, maybe talk about trade shows if you guys are at, and we can just button this guy up here because it's been a fun time.
Yeah, great, Brian. Yeah, I appreciate it. For landscape management, it's as easy as going to landscapemanagement.net. Mm-hmm. We have you click on the link that says subscribe, and there's a form to fill out. And for qualified readers, which there's several things that go into being a qualified reader, but we're asking questions that anyone would be easily figure out what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out what kind of person are you? Are you a homeowner who's just really interested in this type of stuff and wants to learn more about what kind of mower you want to buy? Or are you a legit, business person with a crew, and you're taking over the world in your neck of the woods with the company, and you want to grow your business? So we ask these questions, and so based on that, anyone who goes to that and fills that out, they're going to get the magazine for free, a digital version, and then for qualified readers, they'll get a print version. And I am quick to approve readers for print subscriptions because, like I said, I'm a believer in print.
Yeah,
we do 65,000 copies a month.
Wow.
And so that's it's a big industry, but we obviously don't need every single person at every single company getting a copy. We just really want one or two people getting a copy, and then hopefully they can pass it along as they see it. But we want people to get the magazine. We want people to follow along on our Facebook and our social feeds because we travel to a lot of the trade shows. Whenever we're out at the trade shows, we are very good about wearing our branded logo gear. So if you ever see someone walking by with Landscape Management shirt on, please do stop us and say hello.
Yeah.
Hand us a business card if you read the magazine, because that's another way we get people in the magazine. It's like, hey, I got a stack of business cards from this show, and the person thought enough of the magazine to say hi to me. And we want to give them a call at some point and see how we can work together.
Well, you guys, and I appreciate you sharing all that. That's really helpful because I remember being at GIE and you guys were up top on the 4th Street Live, the little like pavilion, like hangover bridge thing there, which was really cool. And you guys had like shut it down, and it was like a little like VIP party. And like my friend Mike Bedell, he invited me up there, and he's like, hey, why don't you come up here really quick? There's like a bunch of good people you need to meet. And I'm like, sure. I'm like, I don't really want to go up there and like hang out with people. I don't know who's up there. And he goes, Nick Carlson's up here. And I'm like, I know Nick, like I'm that guy. I'm an introvert. I don't know if you've ever heard my story, Seth, but like I'm actually not a people person, so so I'm not like the party guy that like goes fraternizes whatever with people. I'm like, I'll just do me and eat my chicken wings like a little raccoon. And then Mike's like, come up here. I'm like, whatever. So I come up there and Nick Carlson's up there and he's introducing me to this person at Landscape Management Magazine, this person over here at Landscape Mag. I'm like, I don't even know these people. But I got to meet everybody and everybody was really cool. I was hanging out up there with Al from Fence Armor. Shout out to those folks. And just so many cool people that were just hanging. And you know what? It was a good time. That's the thing. Like when you get to hang out with other people in the industry, it's always a good time. Everybody seems to be upbeat, encouraging. Yeah, we're all in competition. But at the same point, I think we're in that encouraging spirit. As much as we're competitive, we're encouraging, and you go to some of these industry events and you see different people. Say, hey man, make a connection. You never know how it could help you, how it could help them. So Seth, like I just really appreciate you being able to take the time to jump on the show to let people know that the magazine A exists, B, if you are receiving it, hey, like continue to support these guys. Quick question. We actually didn't really talk about this, hopefully not a curveball, but if somebody wanted to advertise, are they able to advertise in the actual magazine?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's that same thing. Yeah, my publisher Bill Roddy would love to hear from anyone who wants to advertise.
Yeah,
and there's also a form on the website where you can click and download our media kit, which gives you all the information and the rates and whatnot. And
nice.
Yeah, of course, we would love to appreciate that plug because
I never thought about it.
Magazine, we're entirely funded by our advertisers. So, and that party that you mentioned, the Goose Island Beer Bridge, we've had that party there every year for several years now, and I think that's, like you said, it's a competitive industry, but there's also a lot of like-minded people in the industry. And what you will notice about my team at LM is that we really do enjoy each other's company, and we enjoy the company of the industry. And Brian, you're on the guest list for next year, so we want you to come right up and hang out, bring some people. We'll introduce you to everybody. We love that we have a good network of people because it makes our magazine stronger and it makes our partnership stronger.
Absolutely.
And but you will continue to see that same group up there, I hope, for a very long time because we have a good time. And we also get a little work done while we're there too.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm a sucker for pretzel, beer battered pretzels or whatever they call them, beer pretzels and chicken wings. So if you can figure out some pretzels and nacho cheese, I'm sure it's not hard to get my attention, right? So no,
we have some of that up there for sure.
I like it. Well, yeah, I thought about the advertising things. I'm like, hey, there's some people that listen to this that are owner operators, but then there's companies that want to listen or companies that listen, and other people are designing cool things. There's somebody right now tinkering on something in their garage that'll probably be the hot product for the GIE 2020, right? And 2 years ago was Mulchmate. Like you said, last year was the Chariot. And who knows what's the hot product for 2020? And somebody's got to steal the show, right? And so if you, I guess if you want to advertise with these guys, we didn't even talk about this. I'm not trying to plug it just to plug it, but it does make sense. Like, hey, there's some low-hanging fruit here. If you guys want to get in touch with Seth and his team, I'm sure they can, make a lot of these things happen. And you guys know me, I'm a sales and marketing guy. Like, have a great product. You'll never probably have a perfect product, but have a great product and then get it out there as soon as you can. Get it out there because you want more people talking about your product than less. Let's just keep it simple, right? So cool. Well, hey Seth, let me do this. I'll wrap up with this. Everybody knows where to find socials. Everybody knows where to find you guys and the website. I'll make sure to leave a lot of links in the show notes. But open mic, I try to reserve this last minute or two for anything you personally want to talk about with the magazine or trends or somebody listening to this, how your magazine can help them. Or I don't know, any pearls of wisdom that you want to leave the audience while we got you for the last minute here.
Yeah, appreciate it, Brian. No, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you reaching out to us. And I'll tell you this story. When I took the job, and I've been a journalist in covering the green industry for 20 years, and I've been lurking in the background with landscape management for a long time, probably for the last 9 years, Cohen's GIE Expo, helping them out on some creative things and whatnot. And so then this last 2 years ago, when I was going to GIE Expo, I had to fly Kansas City to St. Louis to Louisville, and I was boarding a flight in St. Louis, and I was in line, and the guy behind me starts chit-chatting with me. He said, "You going to GIE Expo?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And what do you do? "Oh, I got to do this. What do you do?" And I told him, I said, and it was the first time I think I'd ever really told anyone outside of because I hadn't even really been announced yet at the time. I said, "Well,
Sure.
I'm editor-in-chief of Landscape Management Magazine."
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he kind of looked at me, and he goes, "You are?" And I said, "Yeah, my name's, this is my first show with the magazine." He looked at me and he goes, "That's really cool. That's a big deal." And I said, "Thank you." And he goes, "No, I mean that. You guys have a very important magazine in our industry, and So then I got this guy's business card, and that was I always knew it was a big deal, and I knew the magazine had an impact on the industry, and we want to keep doing that. We want to keep supporting the industry. We want to. It's got a proud heritage, and we just want to keep doing the right thing by the industry. So that's my soapbox. Is just that I appreciated that guy kind of waking me up at the airport and being like, "Wow, cool, man!
You're doing something.
Go get it." You know, that's your gig. So we have a great team back in Cleveland, and we look forward to supporting you guys and your industry, and just keep on. But we rely on you guys to do it. So keep on.
That's awesome.
Staying in touch with us.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I can echo what you're saying. Like the feedback, we it's always tough because we're all in our industry, we go 100 miles an hour, right? And sometimes we don't have the time to slow down to say thank yous or great job or, appreciate you. But you know what, the support and the feedback, with YouTube, it's hit the thumbs up, or the podcast, leave a 5-star rating or review, right? One of those deals. But the magazine, if you guys get to see these guys in passing at a trade show or the GIE, don't forget to encourage them too. Don't forget that they have a tough job. They have crazy deadlines. God bless you guys. I would never make it in what you're doing because, I probably have gray hairs, you know what I'm saying? And so I already fret as it is trying to get content out for YouTube and that meat grinder, like I call it. But I really, for real, I respect you guys. Appreciate you taking the time to jump on the podcast. So, hey, we'll wrap it up right there. Seth, thanks so much for taking the time and being on the show, brother.
Hey, my pleasure, Brian. Appreciate your time, too. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll give the rest of the LM team my best, and I'm sure we'll see you guys all up at GIE 2020. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, this has been another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Hey, really quick, before you sign off and you guys are, hitting to the next track, do me a favor. As you're looking down, if you haven't hit a 5-star rating, do me a big solid. That really helps the podcast and getting it surfaced and getting it promoted to the almighty algorithm. Skynet is in control, as you guys probably would imagine. So, just having fun. So, here's the deal. If you haven't left a 5-star rating and a couple sentence review, I see these come in, and you know what? They really help the podcast with some credibility and some social proofing as people discover the podcast. So without further ado, this has been another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast, guys. Thanks so much for listening. We look forward to catching up with you guys on the next one.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.